recorded. Okay, guys, happy Sunday. This is definitely the beginning of a very interesting week, mainly because we are still in this situation with Iran, and it's actually not getting any better so far. Now, as you guys can see, we're looking at oil USD. The reason why I'm starting off with that is because we can see why gas prices are where it's at. Okay, a barrel of oil currently is at $113 per barrel, and we're so close to 120. The last time we even seen something this wild was in 2022, and that was in February 2022. So we've seen circumstances like this before where price has spiked, but it usually would not last. However, the last time we saw price touch areas this high, they retested it in June. So like between the what was it, spring and the beginning of summer is where we saw price hit. I'm sure many of you guys remember how it felt to be pumping gas at such high prices. So hopefully we could find some sort of resolution, but for now there is none. All right. And every time you hear such news about them coming to terms about kind of patching this up, usually it's fake news. It's just optimistic thinking. I don't think Trump really I think he underestimated the Iranians. This is why like other previous presidents did what they did, how they did it, because we're not trying to be in no war. That wasn't part of our bingo card. And part of his whole campaign was to not bring the troops to another unnecessary war. But we understand things do happen. Uh, and I'm starting to not recognize Trump as just a businessman. He looks a lot more as the politician that he hated to become, or the politicians he would go after and criticize. Now, this has nothing to do with how I feel. I don't honestly care too much about my own opinions. It's just the facts, it's just what we're dealing with regardless, right? And so the different markets that are impacted by all this war is also gold. Now, here's the thing that's very interesting about gold these days. You know how typically we consider whenever there's war and rumors of war, gold just buys. This is one of the main things that kind of kept us from seeing how gold actually was not ready to buy all the way. But since March, we were making sure you guys, when you're trading on your own, to pay attention to when the market reaches 4 hour highs that it came from before in the past. For example, March 2nd, when we bought up here, we noticed that they revisited 4 hour highs. And these are some of the cleanest setups you'll take advantage of instead of just like chasing buys when certain buy opportunities are no longer there. Once price makes it to a 4 hour high, pay attention to how they react off of it in the later sessions. So if you're seeing price making it to a 4 hour high in, let's say, New York, pay attention to how price reacts off of it and retraces back into it in Asia for you to take a nice trade opportunity. The first the first time price does bounce off these zones, if we're seeing them reaching there by New York, that doesn't mean there isn't an opportunity there for entry. You'll just have to drop down into like the M15, the M5 to find a cleaner opportunity, um, a cleaner opportunity for a trade. All right. I'll be honest with y'all. The last time I seen the same setup was not too long ago on Wednesday, April 1st. on Wednesday, April 1st. And then you guys notice how price made it to the 4 hour high and retested that area once again in Asia, which gave another clean opportunity for sales. And let me tell y'all, when price does reach these zones and gives you a break and retest or a retest, they're gonna be pulling right into the previous lows of the previous day, which gives us a more um a grander opportunity to hold trades for a better risk to reward, which could really benefit y'all if y'all trying to pass a challenge or if you're trying to really like close in on a really nice trade for the week. It's the in-betweens can be a little tough to catch, but even if we do see bullishness out the week, just know keep in mind the 4 hour supply zones once they make it there. Last week when we started the webinar, the market was literally just like retesting this low right here. We were anticipating sales, but then when we woke up the next day, we saw a breaking retest, which obviously in Asia was a buy opportunity. And once they made it to this 4 hour high here, we all saw what happened. They pulled back in to make a higher low, but still, some people they see that and they hold their trades too long, and then of course the pullback just wrecks them, right? So we want to pay attention and be mindful of the 4 hour highs, even when price does intend on making a higher low to continue and make it to a higher area of supply. Does that make sense? Okay. So, um, now because of all this stuff going on, I'm gonna be paying attention to how price reacts off of this level because I believe we could see price buy into the supply zone and continue to sell. Now, here's what I've learned from current price action. Just because I'm anticipating a sell, if price is, let's say, buying on Thursday, for example, let's say price sells off on Thursday, and then by Friday it's still respecting the zone where there's rejections, I'm not gonna continue to keep my bias as bearish. I gotta go with the flow of price action. For example, this Friday we saw price sell into Thursday's Asia low, and we all, oh well, we do have a new member in the webinar, but whenever you see these long wick rejection zones, don't try and go against it thinking it's gonna keep selling. You want to start looking for counter trade buy opportunities into these zones. It'll serve you well instead of trying to attempt for taking sales into these areas. I've been smacked so many times in these zones, and I had to learn. I had to come to terms. I was like, you know what? Yeah, these rejection zones are way too powerful. It'd be much better to take counter trade buys and put the stop loss below these wicks and just decrease the lot size, decrease the risk so I can be more comfortable even if I have to put my stop loss by like 200 pips. Because nowadays, an 800 pip opportunity, a 900 pip opportunity is not far-fetched, right? So when you're looking at the risk and you're like, oh man, 200 pips, I don't feel comfortable. But hey, market be giving out 900 pips now, 800 pips, 600 pips. So don't be too stingy with the way you thinking how certain pips are not something you're used to because this market is not what we were once used to. Back in the day, a 200 pip catch was like an amazing bragging right. Now it's a stop loss, and a potential take profit might even be three times that. So y'all want to definitely pay attention to that. All right. So starting off this week, I really want to see if we're bullish or bearish for real because if we can't break below this area, like I just dropped a reel and I said, potentially we could see sells to 4,300, 4,360 and such. Even if that were to happen and I didn't catch the sell, I definitely will be paying attention to how price bounces off of demand zones within those areas because I still think that when the going gets tough, they're probably gonna use gold. They're gonna like put their attention back on gold as the safe haven asset if things get really bad. All right. So now when the price of oil skyrockets usually, then for some reason, and I still have to keep doing research on that, for some reason, the price of gold actually sells instead of buying like we usually expect it to. Um, like we usually expect it to, just because we anticipated war, right? But right now, as we're looking at the charts, this does not look like a higher low just yet, unless price respects this demand zone. So we're definitely looking for sell opportunities. For example, like it's Asian session right now. I definitely want to see if we're going to be retesting these highs and respecting these highs in the next session, along with New York session too. So from London to New York, I want to see like how price behaves, um, so I can determine what we're doing from here. But the way this price action looks, I'm more in the favor of sells than long-term buys. Like I you remember how they were saying gold could potentially touch 6,000 by April or by Easter, by spring. I'm not seeing that right now. I'm not seeing that right now. Like everything we've been seeing since February, let alone March, are just buys towards 4-hour highs that turn into massive sell opportunities. Any comments on that? All right, no comments on that. Cool. Let's I'm not taking the trade just yet, but I just want to keep it like that just so I can remember. Let's move on. All my NQ traders, my YM traders, my futures traders. The ironic thing about this price action, man, I mean, last week was clean. Y'all traded last week, right? How was last week for y'all? Last week was super clean with the indices. Can't lie. Had some beautiful breaking retests, some bounces off of the 4-hour lows. We had some sexy, sexy price action, um, retesting old lows. And because price bounced off like a what's the word? It bounced off like previous month lows. There was a lot of liquidity, um, that there was a lot of liquidity and volume that came from that setup right here. I know it's a couple of y'all who caught some really nice Nas setups. This week, I'm looking to see if we're gonna just retest these lows here to buy a little bit higher towards this 4 hour structure. That's the strongest one here. And once we do get to that 4 hour structure, I won't be afraid to see potential sell opportunities unless they break above it, pull back in, and then maybe we'll be heading back into these areas of supply from what was this? Yeah, March, mid-March. But y'all know about US, I mean, well, US 100 or Nas 100. They love 4 hour highs. Like you could miss out on an opportunity for buys, but once they make it to them 4 hour highs with rejections all over, it's usually a very nice opportunity to the downside. So y'all watch out for those too. I honestly feel like if I traded Nas more often, I would probably just wait for the 4 hour supplies on opportunities, unless there's like a clean break in retest on the M5, you know, something like that. But currently, we just swept. We opened up, retesting Thursday's low, Thursday's morning low here. We can see imbalance was tapped. I would be I wouldn't be surprised if this is the half point. Yep, this is around the half point. Let me change the color to that. Okay, 50% of the candle was tapped basically. Mhm. So yeah, this was a really clean start, really clean start of the week. So if I were to be trading Nas tomorrow, what do I usually look out for when price touches the supply and demand zone before I enter a trade? So what do I look for? I look for a rejection or a sweep and then a 5 minute break and retest. That's usually how I wait for my opportunities. Like, let me give you a really nice example. Gold. Wednesday, April 1st, Asia. Break, retest by 8:52. Like I'm seeing this retest right here, I'm taking sells. If I miss out on it, this break retest right here is gonna be my entry, and I'm gonna put my stop loss above that zone. Now I will consider it a safe zone for stop loss. All right. So if I'm trading New York, I'm anticipating potentially for price to retest the previous session lows, which is London. Now, if I see you coming in there, boom, 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 rejection, break retest right here by 9:45, I'm gonna take an attempt. I'm gonna put my stop loss below London lows and up and away it goes. If I feel like I'm still not comfortable enough, I'm gonna wait for a price to give me a break and retest by 10 in the morning, 11, just like depending on how price action is looking. But yeah, even if I'm coming from a 4 hour opportunity, I'm gonna drop down to the 15 and the 5 just so I can see how price behaves. The follow through is important for me for me to resign so I can refine my entries. Yeah. And that goes for supply or demand. Supply or demand. So currently, like I don't see a trade for me. Why? Market just opened. It is 8:23 p.m. But more so, if I was gonna take a trade for, let's say, buys, I would look at where price was. For example, this was Thursday's 9:30, and I'm seeing rejections right here. And without putting too much razzle dazzle into it, I would just take a buy and I'll put my stop loss below this low. But best believe that just be a one to one type of trade. If I'm risking by what 100 points, I'm probably going for. I'd even go for like 95 points right here, just like on some beautiful scalps, just because I see this rejection. Um, and I'm probably gonna see you're probably gonna see price like pull back from it. I don't like to trade like that, but if I'm gonna take a quick scalp, this would be something I would consider, just to kind of break down how I would go about a trade. But many times we'll forget that price will give you a one, two, three, then buy. So waiting for that sweep, that release of liquidity can also help for us to find more clarity out of the trade because now they'll sweep, break, and retest, which gives us way more confidence that the zone was tapped and ready to go. And it helps you to know that wherever you put your stop loss after price swept the previous low, usually gives us more confidence um, to not expect our stop loss to get hit. It's very less likely that the stop loss gets hit after price does sweep the low. All right. So let's see how things play out. This might be a nice opportunity on gold for it to buy back to the upside, to retest Sunday's highs, the current highs. Yeah. These are the zones that I'm looking forward to see even in London. We might see an opportunity for buys just back into this internal range. Okay, so for now, I don't see no trades yet, but once I do see the schematic play out, then I could see an opportunity for price to bounce back to the upside. All right. Now, US 30, same thing. Last week's price action pretty much closed at a higher low. I think we could see a retest here. Honestly, um, New York's price action should be interesting. Remember, Friday was Good Friday. And most of the banks are still observing this weekend's holiday. All right, so you got Euro banks are closed, European banks are closed, Great Britain banks are closed. The only market that's going to be open for real is USD. Now, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. If tomorrow's price action is wonky, Twan, don't be mad at Bay. All right?
Okay. All right.
Put the pitchfork down. Yeah. Tomorrow might be a little funny. I think it might be a little funny, but we never know. We're still gonna have to pull up like nothing happening. But once we start noticing prices not really moving accordingly, we ain't even gonna be too mad because we know um the release of volume might happen like after Monday's New York session. And then Tuesday might be a lot better. Hmm. Yeah. Nevertheless, though, I'm expecting price to bounce these areas of demand and buy a little bit more towards these recent highs. All right. Yeah. Um, I'm not an oil trader, but I will say one thing that I will take with me going forward is that sometimes I'm anticipating something, and when it doesn't happen, I get turned off. And then when price does come back to retest the lows one more time, I don't even be caring to make another attempt. When really, that last attempt towards the end of the month was the rally that I was looking for. So if at some point I see price pulling back in and I know we're not done yet from all this crap that's going on, if price even touches above this 4 hour high from March 8th, we might see a pullback. But we know if price bounces off demand a few times out the month, we might see price going up to like surge to like 120, which honestly I did not want to see. But oh, he's speaking at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Shit. Mm. Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah. So obviously, if you don't have a true social account, you need to get you one. All right, you gotta be part of the signal group. I went and downloaded True Social last week, man. I'm sick and tired of getting the news after. I want to watch this man close. I watch this man real close. Uh Last week when we saw, do I personally use trend lines? If not, why? No, I don't use trend lines. I guess I'm asking what's your trading style? My trading style is supply and demand. I don't mind putting a trend line just to see better, but that's not my full strategy. You get me? I just like to see price bounce off like supply and demand zones. Because the trend line really is not what dictates the market. You know, they see money, we see candles. So the areas of interest where there's demand, there's asking price is usually what I pay attention to. And the reactions of how price moves is how I usually dictate how I want to enter. Like, for example, 4 hour supply zones. I think sometimes we underestimate how profitable a 4 hour supply zone entry is. Because why? The release of liquidity is going to bring it back within the range. If they're still bullish, they're going to come back and create the higher low. So why not take a counter trade, sell off the 4 hour high when they're having a hard time buying above the 4 hour high? Like they're going to pull back in and make a 4 hour low. So that's how I trade. That gives me more confidence, especially um, with today's markets, man. Like March for me was rough. End of February, why? Because a lot of times I was expecting the candle to actually break out. And what did it do? It swept the 4 hour highs instead. No trend line really would tell you that this is what's going on. But if it does reject the trend line off the 4 hour as well, that usually tells you something. But it's because price is just not finding strength above um 4 hour supply zones, you know? So yeah, I'm not putting nothing past this market these days. Uh this oil crisis is definitely putting implications on the equities markets. So every 4 hour high that I see, I ain't putting nothing past them. If I catch an opportunity for counter trades, I'm taking it. Why? Because many times when price does reach these 4 hour highs, they got a much better opportunity for us instead of all this choppiness that's going on in between. And I definitely took um heed of that. That was my biggest downfall these past couple of weeks. Like I had too much, I had more hopes for the market than the market had for itself. And it's not about hopes. It's really about probability and seeing that thing for what it is. When the first time the market tells you it's not bullish, believe it. Yeah. Um, Sometimes, man, like, let's be honest, a lot of strategies did not work last month. When the markets is just some chop, it doesn't matter what your trend line is saying. Like, it's about the execution and the exit. Like I was in trades that usually will play out very well in an hour or two or 30 minutes. 2 minutes into the trade, the candle's like, that thing's playing zigzag, dancing like Lil Kim. I'm like,
Survived.
bro, yeah, just violating folks, bro. So, and that was one of the main reasons why like a lot of traders was complaining about price action. Not that the setups weren't working, it's just the price action was not respecting the flow. So like you would see a candle that's clearly moving and then all of a sudden just pulls back harshly and leaves a wick and then continues. Then when you actually re-enter, it does the same crap again and then you spend the next 45 minutes trying to wonder if you should get back in or not. And you're not guaranteed which days had choppiness. Like sometimes we would just know, let's say in the middle of the week, price ain't good. But imagine pulling up on a Tuesday, you see a nice setup, you go brush your teeth, dog. And that's the worst trading decision you made. It's like, bro, I can't even walk away from the charts. Sheesh. And the only setups that I saw worked out was when price made it to 4 hour highs or 4 hour lows. And they moved quite well when they did that. And then the worst thing that was not advantageous for me was when we woke up and we noticed that oh the clean price action was happening in London. I'm in the I'm in I'm in the East Coast. So that was not helpful at all. But at the same time, a lot of people made some good money. Their strategies was intact, especially the scalpers. People still won. People still got payouts. So the frustrating part with a lot of us is we got to remember some days we're winning and some other people are not winning. So when we're not winning, we got to respect that if somebody else is winning season. And when they're taking losses too, they're not asking you for nothing. So this is what we in for. And we just got to adapt and improve and keep it pushing. Hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at this market for London to see what we do out of this zone. Uh, we'll see if price does end up buying a little bit up here. And throughout the week, I definitely want to keep my eyes open because let's say price does respect a zone like a low, an Asian low or something out the week. You never know if that might start a bullish rally. So um let's just keep our options open, make sure the opportunities make sense, and let's avoid overexposing ourselves too, like over trading and you know adding position sizes just to try and make back losses. Just don't try not to get played is what I'm trying to say. Like for the month of April, try your best not to get played and saying things like, "Bro, why do I keep doing that?" Or "Man, like they just keep getting me caught." Like I'm limiting my entries and my attempts. So that's it for me. That's it for me. Just to recap, I do see bullish opportunities for Nas until price makes it to 4 hour highs. The first time price makes it to a 4 hour high that it hasn't visited in a while, they tend to give a mean reversal. So I'm counting on that, even if I miss out on a bullish opportunity to take trades. Same thing for US 30. I'm gonna see how price behaves. Um, if we can't break past this 4 hour high, we selling back. But if we do respect the 4 hour demand lows, and we might even surprisingly hear news and word that, oh, the feds are injecting some liquidity, this, that, and the third. And keep in mind, this is also the month where Jerome Powell will be announcing his last Fed rate meeting. we'll be seeing the last of Fed Chair Jerome Powell, because next month, May, that will be the end of his term. No more good afternoon. Gotta be just part of our core memories as traders. So good. Yep. April 29th will be the last FOMC hosted by Jerome Powell. All right. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. Any nuggets from the gambling addiction book you've recommended on Telegram? Looking forward to add it to my library. Yeah, you should definitely read it and then get back to me, see how you like it. Mhm. Okay. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Stay profitable. Talk to you soon. And I sent you my Telegram, but we also communicate on Discord. So let me drop that for those who aren't part of our Discord group. One second. Uh, Dang it, where is this? All right, let me send you guys the Discord link for those of you who are not in the Discord. This is where we will be speaking. Um, I know most of you guys are out for Easter and stuff like that. Personally, y'all notice a lot of the holidays I don't be checking in the chat just to say happy this, happy that. I don't celebrate many of those holidays, and honestly, some holidays be really confusing me as to like, should we even care for it or should we just like acknowledge it? For the most part, holidays I acknowledge them, and if somebody reminds me of it, then I'm like, oh snap, oh yeah, it is this holiday. But I don't have too much heart in it like most people do. Um, yeah. So I'll always be pulling up on a Sunday if everybody's available, and I just keep doing my thing, you know? Yeah, so I just want to let y'all know that in case y'all like, man, why ain't never be like happy Easter? Like I see no correlation with the eggs and the resurrection of Christ, you know? So you feel me? The more you learn, the less you start to like even care about certain holidays. But um it is important to know that what's important is spending time with family and really just being grateful for life every day, good or bad, you know? That's it. That's really all. That's really all. With that being said, y'all, have a great weekend. We'll talk soon and we'll communicate throughout the week in the chats. All right. Peace, love, and blessings. Until next time.